Hey guys, it's Bang for Buck PC Gamer here. Now I recently purchased an Nvidia GTX 980 as an upgrade for my AMD R9 290X. At the time of making this video, the GTX 980 is the fastest single GPU on the planet right now, but there is a significant difference in price between the two cards. And what I've done is I've put together a comparison with 5 games and a few benchmarks, just to see how much I've actually got for my money. So these are the cards I'm going to be comparing in this video. First off, I just want to apologise for the poor camera quality of my iPhone 4S. I don't actually own a HD camera, so please bear with me. To my left is my Zotac Nvidia GTX 980 using the tri-fan cooler, and to my right is my MSI R9 290X using the reference style blower cooler. I do own both of these cards, so this is definitely an unbiased review. I don't have any favour to either company. I've always bought the best graphics card I can with the money I have available. All this fanboyism and this brand loyalty is pretty silly because end of the day, Nvidia and AMD both want your money. So as I was saying before, there is a significant difference in price between the two cards. As of the date of making this video, in the UK you can actually get an AMD R9 290X reference design for £280. Now that's definitely a reasonable price, like in terms of the performance you get. Now with Nvidia you can get the GTX 980 for as low as £403, but with my specific model I paid £420. Now obviously that's a significant increase over the R9 290X, and I wouldn't say it's a justified cost for the performance you get, but Nvidia always have charged a premium for their flagship cards. So the 5 games I've chosen for this comparison is Rise, Son of Rome, Crysis 3, Assassin's Creed Unity, Dragon Age Inquisition, and Watchdogs. So for the cards, I'm not actually going to change anything to either of the cards. I'm going to run them at stock, literally exactly how you get them outside the box. No alterations to any fan curves or power limits. And we can observe just how much more performance I've gained from upgrading from an R9 290X to an Nvidia GTX 980. So first up, Rise, Son of Rome. I used a resolution of 1920 by 1200, very high texture resolution, VSync disabled, all settings are at high, motion blur enabled, temporal AA enabled, and anisotropic filtering at 16x.
You heard what Boudica said. We scout, we set traps, we stay alert. We got reports of Roman activity all over this region. They've lost their general and they're going to do everything to get him back. If you hear anything, raise the alarm.
So as you can see, there's not much between the two cards. The R9 290X was averaging 75 frames per second, while the Nvidia GTX 980 was averaging 76 frames per second. But the GTX 980 did have a significant higher frames per second when it came to minimum frames. So not much between these two cards in this game.
Must be barbarians all over this ridge.
So next up is Crysis 3. I use a resolution of 1920 by 1200, SMA medium ×2, text resolution at very high and system spec at very high. I also use 16 times anisotropic filtering, motion blur and lens flares enabled.
Scanning Sector 1, Delta 1.
One way to do it. That should be enough. Come on.
So the GTX 980 pulling out over a 10 frames per second lead over the R9 290X when it comes to average frames per second. So as you can see, when it comes to Crysis 3, there's quite a big difference between these two cards in this game. The minimums weren't so bad, only around about a 6 frames per second difference. So the GTX 980 definitely provides a better gaming experience when it comes to playing Crysis 3 over the R9 290X. Next up is Assassin's Creed Unity. I used a resolution of 1920 by 1200 once again. VSync is off, stretching is on. Ultra high environment quality, ultra high texture quality. Shadow quality, I set it at high. I could use soft shadows, but it uses Nvidia GameWorks, which is kind of disadvantage to the R9 290X. I also opted to use SSAO instead of HBAO+, as that's also another GameWorks technology which will put the R9 290X at a disadvantage. FXAA and Bloom was enabled.
Monsieur de la Serre! Stop! Make way, make way! Damn it, slow down!
Apparently, walnut is a popular finish this season.
Who is driving this coach, Pelops? Arrêtez!
So the GTX 980 pulling out quite a substantial lead of 19 frames per second on average when it comes to the R9 290X. The R9 290X is really playable. I mean, 66 frames per second average is not that bad. With the minimums as well, it's definitely a massive gap. So if you're going to play Assassin's Creed Unity, then the GTX 980 is definitely the way to go if you've got a choice of these two cards. Now moving on to Dragon Age Inquisition. I used a resolution of 1920 by 1200. I also chose to use DirectX 11 on both cards instead of using Mantle. You might be wondering why. Well, I just wanted to make it a level playing field. I chose not to use any GameWorks options with Assassin's Creed, so I won't use any AMD options with Dragon Age. Also, I can't use fraps to do benchmarking, so there is another limitation. All settings are at Ultra, and I also chose to use 2 times MSAA. So when using DirectX, the GTX 980 pretty much runs away with it, over 16 frames per second average over the R9 290X. Obviously, personally you could enable Mantle and claw back a few of those frames, but generally the R9 290X is bested fairly by the GTX 980. Now moving on to Watchdogs, resolution of 1920 by 1200. I'm using textures at Ultra, using SMAA, graphics quality, level of details at Ultra, shadows is at Ultra, reflections Ultra, MHBAO on ambient occlusion instead of HBAO plus or low because those are GameWorks options and I don't want to give the GTX 980 an unfair advantage. Shaders and water at Ultra and high.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're trying to sell your gun. Take one.
Guys, another nutcase in my day.
Everybody's here because everybody's got to
always me.
Nancy, my friend.
So the GTX 980 really asserting its authority when it comes to Watchdogs. That's over a 20 frames per second average increase over the R9 290X. And it's not so much that the R9 290X is actually that much slower than the GTX 980. It's just that when it comes to GameWorks optimized games, AMD cards seem to struggle in performance, and that's definitely got to do with something with how the game's been made. But if you want to get the best experience from Watchdogs, then the GTX 980 is definitely the way to go. So that's it for the games between the R9 290X and the GTX 980. Now my personal experience and opinion from the two cards is, well, the GTX 980 is the clear victor. It's pretty much better than the R9 290X in every way you can think of. It uses less power, it's cooler, practically silent in operation when compared to my reference R9 290X. No, you can get non-reference R9 290Xs, and I definitely would recommend you picking up one, because you can't really justify having a card that runs at 90 Celsius for the reference design. So definitely pick up a non-reference card when you're choosing the R9 290X. Also, I mean, the GTX 980 comes with obviously over £100 price difference, and also it is newer, so this is an expected performance increase. The GTX 980 should be beating the R9 290X. So personally, I feel pretty satisfied with the card. I don't feel like I wasted my money. I can definitely see the improvements in performance, and I'm happy with it, definitely. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I want to leave you with some benchmarks between the two cards, and thanks for watching.